Today, let's talk about why you might want to ditch your spiritual practice. Hi there, I'm Annika Tronelmas and I'm occasionally awake. I'm here to help you inspire your awakenings, heal yourself and reawaken your life. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the number one mistake to avoid when setting up your spiritual practice and how to customize that practice for your specific needs. See, when modern spirituality meets social media, it's both a gift and a curse. We are presented with all these amazing ideas and inspirations for practices, for rituals, for modalities to include in our practice, to the point where watching people's ideal morning routine has become rather ridiculous. See, at this point, we probably all rolled our eyes at the thought of trying to fit all inspirations, all ideas, all those practices and modalities and rituals and things to do into our morning routine or into our evening routine. And what easily happens on social is that we watch all those different videos on what other people are doing for their spiritual practice and how they're being so very consistent about their practice, about what they're doing. And we see person A doing practice A every single day. And it feels like that sounds like a smart idea. It's changed their lives. We want to try it too. But however, 5 minutes later, we also see person B talking about doing practice B every single day, how it's changed their lives and how it's benefited their health, their well-being, their sense of peace and bliss. And suddenly we might come to the conclusion, okay, so if I want to have that life and if I want everything working out, I better be doing A and B and C and D, and the list goes on and on. If you wanted to fit all those incredible practices into your day that you learned about on social, you probably wouldn't have time for anything else. Here are some examples of the things we better be doing: yoga, meditation, breath work, journaling, taking walks, cleansing your chakras, reading, a daily tarot spread, scripting, visualizations, affirmations, and other manifestation techniques, lighting an intentional candle. Oh, do you feel the stress coming on? Like, that's too much. Can't do it all. The good news is we don't need to do it all. So the number one mistake with your spiritual practice is trying to squeeze everything in there, making it nearly impossible for you to follow through, to be consistent, to have fun and joy and feel ease and bliss while doing all these practices. If your spiritual practice is stressing you out, if your spiritual practice has essentially become a to-do list that you are trying to check off on a daily basis, that you are hustling through, that's a sign that you might want to reevaluate your motivation for that practice in the first place. Here's the secret. That motivation might not have been that spiritual after all. That's okay. Let's fix it. I'm so glad you're here right now. So if you enjoy this, please make sure to like and subscribe to become occasionally awake with me. I want to encourage you to take a step back and ask yourself, what am I doing this for? If you're trying to fit all these different things into your practice, that's a sign you're acting from shadow motivation, meaning from a core feeling of scarcity and lack mentality, not feeling good enough, which would turn your motivation and ultimately your spiritual practice into a means to get better, to repair yourself, to become good enough. Here's the truth. You are not broken, so you don't need fixing. I want to invite you to do some things that you do for no other reason than for the one and only reason that they feel right and good to you. I am proud and happy to say that I have my core spiritual practice that I do every single day, no exceptions. And I have absolutely no problem talking about how that is the only thing that I personally do on a consistent daily basis. I may add other things to that practice. I might extend that practice to other things I do. However, I'm usually not that consistent with anything else. One of the practices I've been doing recently that is very important and dear to my heart is a journaling practice that's called Letter from the Universe, in which I basically channel information that's coming through and I write it out on the page. And I love it. I adore that practice. It has given me so much clarity. It is changing my life, I can say that, and still I'm not being consistent about it. And it's always a spontaneous decision of, I think this would really feel good right now, so I'm going to do it right now. And maybe that's part of why I end up doing it on most days, because of the intrinsic light motivation to do it in a moment where I feel like this could benefit me right now. This would really increase my sense of bliss and joy right now. So I pick up the notebook, I start the practice, and the next day I might not be doing that practice, and that's totally fine. I don't do it every single day. Sometimes I just don't feel inspired. If I'm not inspired, I'm not going to force myself to do it, because I personally understand the greatest benefit in a spiritual practice in inspiration, in feeling inspired to be inspired. And if I feel like something's not inspiring me in a given moment, I'm not going to do it. Then I give myself that space without judging me for not being perfect or not being spiritual. I still consider myself spiritual, engaged in my spiritual practice, and occasionally awake. And what being occasionally awake essentially means is allowing yourself to be perfectly imperfect in your process, on your healing journey, on your spiritual journey, on your path of personal growth. Not every day is going to be a perfect day, but every day is an opportunity to practice self-awareness. That doesn't mean feeling great all the time, but simply being with whatever you feel right now. Catching yourself whenever you slip into coping strategies, and gently take yourself back into the present to listen for the creative impulses that spontaneously tell you what would inspire you right this moment. And that might be a totally different practice or ritual or modality on Tuesday than it was last Thursday. I personally have that one very specific spiritual practice that I do every single day, no exception. And anything else on any given day, I consider a bonus. On one day, I might add yoga. On one day, I might add taking a walk or doing manifestation techniques or several of these things. But I never force myself to turn my spiritual practice into a series of to-dos that I gotta check off. Because I'm aware of the fact that whenever that might happen, I'm motivated by ego. I'm motivated by my shadow, by a scarcity mindset of not being good enough, of needing to improve, and not motivated anymore by the spirit that simply needs the feeling of inspiration in the moment as an impulse to act, to do, to try something comes up. Oftentimes the only value of doing something every single day is in our ego. And I mean, I know that I'm saying that after 2 proud videos on by now 6.5 years of my daily spiritual practice. And indeed, I gotta say that specific practice, doing it daily, has some more meaning to it than simply serving my ego. And yet, it still serves my ego. Our ego is our identity, not just our sense of vanity, as some people still believe. So, to some extent, it's only natural that if we identify with being a spiritual person, we seek that identification represented in our daily lives. Whenever we say, I do, I think, I can, I believe, I have, that's the ego at play. And that's beautiful. There's nothing negative about that. I rather want to sensitize you to the ways in which some of us use spiritual hustling unconsciously to fill our identity with the self-concept of, I'm so very spiritual. While our spiritual practice might actually make us feel stressed, depleted, or even broken inside because we keep failing it. We keep failing our own standards, the expectations we set for ourselves that are simply too high. It doesn't have to be daily, it doesn't have to be weekly, it doesn't have to be the same things. Switch it up, follow the impulses, return to yourself. Return to that inner sense of, oh, you know what would be nice right now? Follow that. I want to encourage you to follow your creative impulses, to follow your spontaneous inspiration as it comes up in the moment, rather than following the protocol on what your spiritual practice is supposed to look like or how consistent it's supposed to be. Allow yourself to relax, to exhale, to let your shoulders drop, and to allow the process of your daily spiritual practice over the course of time to evolve, to change, to be flexible and messy and adaptive. Allow it to be all over the place, as long as it's in tune with your spirit, heart, and soul. Got any occasional awakenings? Now I'd like to hear from you, so let me know in the comments below which spiritual practice you let go of once you realized that what's supposed to be good for everybody was simply not inspiring to you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. This video is related both to the awakenings to the ego and to the conscious self. If you want more insights on the 4 types of awakenings and how to experience them in your life occasionally, visit me at occasionallyawake.com to inspire your awakenings. Bye.